Hi and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful beanie or hat. The materials we'll be needing includes a measuring tape, a pair of scissors, a hook. I'm using a 3.5mm, a darning needle, and our yarn. Of course, I'm using a fingering weight yarn for this. I'm using 2 strands of the fingering weight yarn. You can also use 1 strand of your worsted weight yarn if that's what you have. Okay, so to start our yarn, we are going to make a slip knot. Okay, so twist around, yarn over and pull through, and that is your slip knot like so. After that, we are going to make a chain, which is going to be the height of our beanie. Okay, so yarn over, pull through, and keep making chains until you have the length, which is going to be the height of your beanie. For this tutorial, I'm going to be making a chain of 9 inches. I have made my chains the length I wanted, which is about 9 inches, which is a perfect size for an adult beanie. Feel free to reduce or increase it as you prefer. Okay, as you can see, it is about 9 inches in length, which is the height of our beanie. To start row 1, we are going to place a single crochet into the second chain from our hook. Okay, yarn over and single crochet, and then we are now going to place single crochets on each of the following stitches. So pick any of the next stitch, make a single crochet, pick the next stitch, make a single crochet, and this is what we are going to repeat all the way across until we get to the end of the row. So just keep doing that and I'll meet you towards the end of the row there. Towards the end of the row there, I've placed single crochets all the way around, and I have about 1 2 3 4 5 stitches remaining. So we are going to make slip stitches on each of the remaining 5 chains remaining at the end of our row there. So that is 1. Okay, you insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through all loops on your hook. So that is our slip stitch. So you keep doing that for the remaining 5 stitches. Okay, after making the last slip stitch, which is the 5th one, okay, this is what we have. You want to chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to make 5 slip stitches on top of the other slip stitches we have from the previous row. So working on that back loop, okay, you can see the little V there. So from the back loop of the first slip stitch there, you want to insert your hook and then make a slip stitch on that first stitch there. Into the next, you're going to make another slip stitch. It can be tricky to work with because it is tight, so just take your time. Insert into the next and then make another slip stitch, which is the 3rd one. Okay, and this is the 4th slip stitch. Into the next, which is the 5th slip stitch. So now we have a total of 5 slip stitches on top of the previous 5 slip stitches from the previous row. So now the next thing to do for the remaining stitches, okay, you go into that last stitch there where we placed our slip stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then into the next stitch, picking the back loop, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook. Okay, so that is our first stitch there. Insert into the stitch where you previously worked, and then into the next stitch there, pull up a loop and then pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So go into the previous stitch where you worked, into the next stitch there, pull up a loop and pull through all loops. So this is the pattern we are going to be repeating all the way across until we get to the end of the row. So we are picking 2 stitches at the same time, picking the previous stitch you worked with and then the next stitch. So that is just it for this row. So towards the end of the row, we are just going to finish it off together. So you insert into the previous stitch and then into the next stitch. Remember, we are working on the back loops only. Okay, into the previous stitch and then the last stitch for me here now on the row, you insert into the back loop and then pull through all loops on your hook. So that is it for this round. So you chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to work for our row 3. So you insert into the back loop of the first stitch there and make a single crochet. So you are starting each round with a single crochet, then insert into that same place where we place the single crochet and then into the next stitch there and make our cluster stitch. I don't know what this stitch is actually called, but we're just going to call it a cluster for this video. Okay, so you insert into the previous loop and then into the next and then pull through all loops on your hook. Insert into the previous and then into the next stitch and pull through all loops on your hook. So this is just the pattern we'll keep repeating until we get towards the part where we have our slip stitches. Okay, so just keep repeating that and I'll meet you towards the slip stitch part. So towards the end of the row, I still have few stitches left before I'll start making the slip stitches. Okay, so repeating the same stitch we've been doing into the previous, then into the next stitch, and then pull through all loops on your hook. So you want to count the remaining stitches there. Remember, it's 5 slip stitches, so make sure you have only 5 stitches remaining, and then you're going to place your slip stitches on top of each of the remaining 5 stitches. Remember, we are working only on the back loops only, so picking the back loop. So this is the third one, then the 4th slip stitch, and then I'm going to pick the last slip stitch there. So make sure you have 5 slip stitches. Okay, like I said, that slip stitch can be hard to insert your hook through, so try as much as you can to pick that. And after that, you chain 1, turn your work, and then we are going to place slip stitches on top of the previous 5 slip stitches we did for the previous row. So into the first slip stitch, you make a slip stitch. Into the next slip stitch, you make a slip stitch. So you just keep doing that until you have a total of 5 slip stitches on top of each of the previous 5 slip stitches that we have. Okay, after making the 5 slip stitches, okay, we're going to keep making our regular stitch for the row, which you insert into the previous stitch where we made our slip stitch, and then into the next stitch you pull through, and then you yarn over all 3 loops on your hook. You repeat the same thing into the previous stitch and into the next stitch, pull through all loops on your hook. And this is just the pattern we are going to keep repeating all the way around until we get to the end of our row. Okay, so when you repeat and get to the end, you chain 1, turn your work, and keep repeating that row after row until you have enough to go around your head. So now I have the length enough the way I want it, which is going to be enough to wrap around my head. Okay, I just finished off my last stitches for that row. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So the next thing is to fold it over, arrange it to make sure that the 2 ends are equal. Once you've done that, you want to take your tape now, and then we are going to measure the folded part of our work. Okay, so I have about 9 inches up there, but when you measure the base, the down part, you can see it's almost 10, and it can stretch up to 11 inches, which is half of 22 inches, which is the circumference for an adult size beanie. Okay, so the work should be enough to stretch up to half of the circumference of head you are working with. If the circumference of head is 12, that means your work should be able to stretch up to 6 inches. But since mine is 22 inches, so I'm just going to do 11. So as you can see, it is stretching up to 11 inches, which is the size we are going for. So once you have that, the next thing to do is to sew in that end together to join it, and we are going to be doing that by making slip stitches all the way across. You can use any joining method you prefer. Okay, so to join with the slip stitches, we are going to pick stitches from both sides of the work. You pick the first from this side and the first from the next side, and we are going to slip stitch them together like so. You pick the next stitch and then onto the next stitch as well from the other side. So just take your time to find that next stitch and then slip stitch as well. So we're just going to keep picking each of the following stitches and making slip stitches to join all the way across until we get to the end of our row. Towards the end, I'm just joining the remaining last few stitches. Okay, so joining the last stitch right now. After you've done that, you chain 1, and then you're going to pull up a loop that is about 15 to 20 inches long and cut off that excess yarn. And once you've done that, we are going to use that tail there to join that top together. Okay, you can see where we made the slip stitch is the back part of our work, and the other part is going to be the right side of your work. Okay, so to join our work, you're going to take that tail and thread your darning needle like so. Once you've done that, we are going to be picking on those top loops, as you can see. So once you have picked in the first top loop, you pick the next one, pick the following one like so. So you just want to be picking only on those top loops. You can pick multiple at a time and do that all the way around until we get to the place where we first started. So towards the end of that, I'm just picking the remaining last few loops on that top there. So after you've done the last one, remember to leave a tail at the beginning part so that you can use it to join. So the next thing to do is to pull it together to close up that loop. Okay, be careful so that you don't pull the other tail inside. So you just pull it as tightly as you can to close up that loop, and then you take the other end and make a knot. So we are just going to knot twice. After you have knotted tightly, okay, we are now going to try to close up that small hole at the center there. If yours does not have a hole, that's fine, you can skip this step. So to do that, we are just going to pick stitches from both sides, from the two opposite sides of that center hole there. Try not to pick the big stitches, okay, so that your work doesn't scrunch up at the end there. As you can see, I was struggling to pick as little stitch as I can, so you sew that together, and we're going to do that one more time on the opposite ends. Okay, so you pick this side of your work, pass it through and do the same thing, and then sew that end together like so. So remember, this sewing is done at the wrong side of your work, not the right side. The next thing to do now is to tie those ends together. I knotted about 2 or 3 times. Then we are now going to weave in the ends. Okay, so you're going to just pick stitches, just the back from in between the stitches, or just picking on those back loops there. Okay, so you just feed it through like that, and then pick in between a few stitches and cut off the excess. So that is how you weave in that part. And then for this short tail end, you have to put in your needle first through the stitches where you want to weave it in. After you've put your needle through the stitches, you feed your yarn through the needle hole and then pull through and cut off that excess as well. Okay, so I'm just struggling to pull that through, cut off, and that's it. So this is the wrong side, so you turn your work to the right side, and this is what our hat looks like. So that will be all for this tutorial. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down below and tell us what you think. Thank you for watching. Bye.